Mbappe played great last night. Initially, I was critical of his performance, but I revisited the game, and I think he played great. Because if you look in the first 60 minutes, PSG were playing the most passive controlling football. Not even going for it. Enrique, the fraud, instructed PSG to play as passively as possible. Because he knew his defensive setup was fucking shit. That's why not only did he not even tell them to go through the center, he didn't even dare let them spam aerial crosses. Because aerial crosses are more risky. The deflections are harder to predict, and there's more opportunity for the opponent to set up a counterattack. That's why he made them spam low crosses, because that's the most risk-free way of playing, right? Because the deflections are relatively easy to predict, and also, if it goes to the other end, another PSG player can get on the end of that low cross and continue passing the ball sideways. So I want to compare the attacking momentum chart for Man City after they went 1-0 down to Real Madrid, and PSG last night in the first 60 minutes, before Dortmund scored their second goal. So if you look at the Man City versus Real Madrid game, this is their attacking momentum chart after they went 1-0 down to Madrid. And this is PSG's momentum chart in the first 60 minutes of the game. Can you even believe that these are the same situations? Two teams trying to come back from a 1-goal deficit? Man City's attacking momentum is literally like 3 times higher because they're actually fucking going for it. PSG are playing the most passive shit ever because Enrique knows his defensive setup is horrendous and he's scared of conceding. That's why he made them pass sideways passes. And it's one thing to play passively in these sort of games, right? Because you're 1 goal down. So, some managers will opt to play more passively because they're more scared of conceding. But it's another thing to not only play the most passive attacking football possible, but also to hog on to possession in your opponent's half. Because now, they could just easily park the bus. The hardest thing about parking the bus is staying disciplined. It's easy for players who are parking the bus to stray out of position, to get carried away, to venture forward. But when you hog on to the ball in their opposition half, it makes their life easy for them. They're just reacting to you, hogging onto the ball, getting like 65-70% possession, and it just plays into their hands. You are minimizing your team's offensive output while also maximizing the opposition team's defensive output. This is literally the hardest game state for attacking players to play in. Now, I know that I like to gas up Mbappe's brace at the Allianz Arena, a game where Bayern completely dominated. And for good reason too, right? Because Bayern were completely dominant. So that is a very, very hard game state for Mbappe or any forward to perform in. But even that game state was far easier to perform in because at least PSG aggressively went on the counter. PSG aggressively tried to create counter-attacking chances. So there was always that opportunity. There were always going to be some chances to hit Bayern on the counter, even though they were relatively few in number. But in this game, you have PSG desperately holding onto the ball, prioritizing not losing the ball, and not conceding, and not even trying to attack for the first 60 minutes, and Dortmund just happily sitting back, parking the bus, putting 11 bodies in the box. Like, this is literally an impossible game state for attackers to perform in. So I don't blame Mbappe for not doing much in the first 60 minutes. Just like all the other PSG attackers, I don't blame them either. You have a manager who has so little confidence in his philosophy, who knows that his defensive setup is dog shit, who is so scared of conceding that he's given up trying to score, that he's just happily hogging onto the ball and playing as passively as possible and just praying that they get a lucky goal. I don't blame any of the attackers for not showing up because the manager has put him in an impossible situation. But after Dortmund got a 2-0 lead in the tie, Mbappe showed up. And frankly speaking, all the other attacking players showed up. I actually don't really have any criticism of the attacking players today. They all showed up after they finally had to attack, after they were finally given the freedom to attack. Mbappe hit the post, and a lot of idiots are saying that he missed an open goal. I mean, just look at this. How dumb do you have to be to call this an open goal? Not to mention, it's even harder than the picture suggests because he's dealing with a bouncing deflection, right? So it's not even a well set up pass. So the idea that this is some easy open net chance, like you have to be out of your mind to be saying that, right? So he hit the post and then he should have won a penalty as well. He should have won a penalty at the end. And also he was generally threatening. So in the 30 minutes where he actually had a chance to attack, he played well. So I don't have any complaints about Mbappe last night. He was put in an impossible position for the first 60 minutes. And then in the 30 minutes where he actually could attack, he played well. I mean, in 30 minutes to hit the post and then getting what should have been a penalty, that's a pretty good performance in 30 short minutes. So I don't have any complaints about his performance last night. It's just a shame that in his last year at PSG, and with such an easy draw, he had to deal with the worst manager in his entire career. The worst cup manager I've ever seen. I'm just glad that he never has to play under Luis Enrique the fraud again. And while this is tough to process, the Euros are coming up. He's going to be playing for a much better team next season. He's going to be playing for a much better manager next season who doesn't play him as a center forward half the time. You know, the future is bright. And I can't wait for it.